Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, I move that private business item number 878, standing in my name, be considered in a short form format.
Is leave granted? Leave granted.
Mr President, I move the motion be put. I move the motion. Mr President, on 19th of October 2020, amidst a global pandemic and a recession, Ausgrid announced that 230 jobs will be cut in January 2021. A further 270 jobs are proposed to be axed prior to 2024, 500 jobs in total. Since privatisation, Ausgrid have shed over 2,000 jobs. These further cuts will take the total job cuts towards 3,000 jobs lost in Ausgrid alone, and a total of 5,500 in the New South Wales supplier authorities, including Ausgrid, Endeavour, Transgrid and Essential Energy. And I note the interjection of my colleague, the Honourable Fred Nile, who instituted job guarantees. I'll touch on that in a minute. These job guarantees that were built into the legislation were meant to act as a brake on job losses. The Electricity Network Assets Authorised Transaction Act 2015 mandates that a minimum of 3,570 staff stay employed. Mr President, we're now at approximately 2,700 staff at the end of the regulatory period, which is well below the safe minimum, as contractors and outsourcing do not make up the numbers of what is the safe minimum. To now slash more jobs is not just cutting to the bone, but cutting into the bone. It will exacerbate the problems we have already experienced, whereby customers are left without power for longer periods of time, as there are not enough staff to dispatch to fix damaged electricity mains and apparatus quickly. This is all occurring while Ausgrid attempts to outsource its permanent workforce by continually contracting out core functions which are normally undertaken by full-time internal staff. Disturbingly, this includes contracting out of critical core functions to do with safety, which requires highly specialised and skilled workers with years of training and accreditation. In reference to the most recent job cuts, Richard Gross, Ausgrid's CEO, stated the redundancies were, and I quote, to keep the lights on for households and make energy as affordable as possible. This is the same rubbish, Mr President, the public was served up back in 2015 election in order to justify the sale. 5 years on and thousands of jobs later, we see a massive loss of income stream to the New South Wales taxpayer. And what do we show for it? Well, Mr President, I want to quote from IPART, reports on electricity prices from 2013 to 2019. Ausgrid, we've had an 18.4% cumulative change over that period. Endeavour, 17, this is the median residential electricity bill by network area. Endeavour, a 17.1% increase. Essential, this is the government-owned distributor, 3.9%, the lowest. Median small business electricity bill, same sort of organisations. We've got a 41% increase over that period for small businesses. Endeavour Energy Supply Area, 33% increase. Again, Essential, the government-owned distributor, 9.1%. In 2019, Ausgrid's CEO cut 365 jobs, which resulted in Ausgrid failing to deliver and complete $35 million of work that had been scheduled. It's outrageous that Ausgrid are so understaffed they can't even complete the work that they are funded to do by the Australian Energy Regulator, and they are now cutting a further 500 jobs. In a stark admission of their inability to deal with the increasing frequent storm events earlier this year, Ausgrid infamously resorted to pleading for the Army's support because they lacked adequate resources. We saw homes and businesses across Sydney without power for days on end, including over 300 homes and businesses in the St George and Sutherland Shire area, which were left with power for a week. The government should have greater oversight on an industry that it is failing to deliver basic service and powering homes for businesses. The privatisation of Ausgrid has been a terrible failure for New South Wales residents. Despite promises from the Liberal National Government, instead of lower prices and higher reliability, we've witnessed increased blackouts and delays in restoration of power and increased electricity prices. At the time of privatisation, the Liberals and Nationals stated that they would retain significant control and oversight of the electricity entities. The government's still a significant shareholder, almost 50%. Mr President, what we need And what this this motion calls for is simply this, that the government calls on the Ausgrid CEO. You said you'd step in, you've said you've still got power over it, simply call on him to reverse these job cuts. We are now cutting into the bone in an organisation that can no longer supply critical energy to the customers of New South Wales at a reasonable
The member's
price.
time
And
has
they can call on them
expired.
to withdraw the
Are
job
any other members seeking the call? The Minister.